Hi, guys. Welcome to the Future PropTech Miami podcast. Today, for our second episode, we have Beatrice Ronchetti. So, Beatrice is a founder at Beatrice Ronchetti. She helps businesses to stand out, business professionals to stand out from the crowd. She's based out in London. Tell us about yourself, Beatrice.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Mateen. I am a personal brand strategist. I specialize in helping people and businesses in the real estate sector, so in property, basically to elevate their profile so that they can become more visible in certain markets, so that they can scale. All of this through their personal brand. And I do this through coaching, through team workshops, but I'm also a speaker and MC.
I read about the $140 million pounds, in overall cumulative revenue. Tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a number I'm very proud about. So collectively, my clients have generated project opportunities of a total value of £140 million just through their personal brands. I like to share that because it shows the kind of commercial value of people's personal brands. And we'll talk a lot about this today, obviously. But what happens is whenever an opportunity or a lead is created through somebody's personal brand, typically the conversion rate is 7 times higher. So then it's not surprising to see that when it comes to looking at the return on investment and the opportunities that were generated through, becoming more visible as a professional, then it all adds up to that £140 million and counting to date.
My first question to you, Beatrice, would be, how does personal branding in real estate help from the commercial standpoint?
Absolutely. That's a great question. So there's lots of definitions for personal branding, right? People say that personal branding is what people say when you're not in the room. They say it's your reputation. They say, what people know about you and who knows you. All of these definitions are correct. But what is a strong personal brand? A strong personal brand is one that is visible. So your clients, the people that will give you those opportunities, need to know that you exist. You need to be memorable. So it's important to show up with a message that is compelling. You need to be known for the right reasons. So that needs to be aligned with your business goals, and you need to be known in the right places. So there's no point being visible everywhere if you're not reaching your target audience, right? So when all these ingredients work together, personal branding becomes a very strong commercial tool. So most people come to me because they want to attract more project opportunities. That is typically the main reason. It can also have to do with, attracting talent or building an employer brand, or again, breaking into new markets and building a presence. But really, personal branding is about creating that commercial value. So we'll talk about examples a lot today, but the way that works is positioning the right people in front of the right audience. So if I am trying to win a specific type of project of a certain scale in a certain geographical area, I am obviously up against other businesses, other professionals. We are never the only choice. So how do we become the obvious choice? We need to understand our audience so deeply. We need to understand what they are looking for specifically so well that when we are then showing up in front of them, because that's the key thing. Often clients say to me, we're quite well established, but some of our clients still don't forget about us. They don't really know that we're here doing all of this amazing work. So we need to show up first and foremost with the right touch points. But then it's about showing, well, why us? Why are we the obvious choice? And that is done through a mix of understanding what they need, but also bringing to the forefront what makes us as professionals, our experience, our skills, our personality. All of these things come into play. And when you get that right, then you get commercial value that is very, very easy to track, because you will know exactly how those opportunities came about.
I completely agree. Just a side question here. Does personal branding generally come more from companies who are already existing in the market? or does it come from the blue ocean strategy, as we call it, companies that are looking at different markets? Where is the higher penetration of this personal branding aspect in the real estate and PropTech sector?
Are you asking which companies use personal branding the most?
Not necessarily. Yeah, maybe at the end you can tell me that as well. But more of, let's say, a company who's already in the UK market. If they're looking to go into, let's say, the Germany market, would they use the personal branding more, or let's say they have to go from London to Birmingham or York?
Absolutely. A bit of both. So personal branding is the most powerful tool to build visibility in any market. So I have worked in marketing for the property sector in excess of 15 years. So I've seen lots of different strategies at play. I've worked in the corporate world as well. And, there's often big campaigns and lots of different tactics that happen at the same time. When it comes to building visibility quickly, personal branding is the most powerful tool. It converts opportunities the quickest, but it also grows that visibility in the fastest possible manner. So really, it is very effective in both cases. So I have worked with businesses that are already very established in certain regions, but perhaps they want to either scale, move into a new niche, or even change the perception that a specific market has of them very, very quickly. And the best way to do that is through their people, through the individuals, rather than the company page or the brand itself, so to speak, sharing that message. And it also works really well if you're trying to move into a completely new market. So personal branding is universal, is what I'm trying to say. Personal branding has been growing very much in other sectors for many years. Property sometimes lags behind a little bit when it comes to new trends, and so it's only become as strong in property and real estate. I would say in the last five years, it's definitely had a big push. And so regardless of the country, so for example, in Europe, in the US, LinkedIn is huge, right? In the Middle East as well. But regardless of the channel specifically, this strategy of creating a brand around the people, around the leaders, is effective worldwide, and it's also quite common. But even if you think about, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, regardless of whether you align with those individuals specifically or not, their brands are very tightly linked to them as individuals. And when you look at their content online, or even just their LinkedIn pages, them as individuals will have way more followers, million more followers compared to the company page. So I might buy Microsoft products, but I will follow Bill Gates because that is the individual that we invest in, so to speak, in terms of what he says and what he does. And whenever his personal brand is not aligned, the company suffers as well. But when his personal brand is successful, the company is also successful.
I agree. I feel with personal branding, it's more D2C, direct to consumer. You can reach your end user more quickly, more directly. You can engage with them more directly. So I think in my the way I look at it, I feel personal branding is more PR to the common masses.
That's an interesting point. I would say it works both in B2C, so business to consumer, and business to business. So I have seen it work incredibly well in business to business. So if you are an architect targeting developers, if you are, if you're in PropTech and you're trying to push a product, for instance, with specific businesses at corporate levels, it works incredibly well because typically what property and real estate have done for a very long time is utilize the corporate brand to share the message. The CEOs, the managing director, the senior leaders behind the brand aren't always at the forefront. And this has been the case for a very long time. And in some respects, we are quite conservative as an industry. And so there is a lot of caution around, if one of the senior leaders is out there speaking. Not for all brands, but I would say typically. So when the people do take the stage, they can cut through the noise in a much more effective way because it's not a saturated market in that respect. However, it does work really, really well when it comes to business to consumer as well, especially because as consumers, say that I was looking for a personal service, or even if we are looking at founders of small businesses that are looking for a business coach, for example, whenever you have to work with somebody in close proximity, you need to know that them as an individual, they as a person will align with you directly. And so especially in B2C, corporate marketing, if you like, won't work. But I would say there's a lot of opportunity in both sectors, maybe more in B2B because personal branding is a bit newer.
And I feel it's more, it is coming of the age. Personal branding in B2B is coming of age, wherein I think there will be a lot of interventions, there will be a lot of service providers, there will be lots of people who are actually helping these bigger corporates achieve that. And my next question is something very similar, is that how does personal branding and let's say company brand work together towards the PropTech business, towards how to grow that PropTech business all across the world? Because PropTech is new. Real estate has been there for long, but PropTech is new. Tech is new.
Yeah.
The intersection of property and technology is new.
Yes,
Relatively,
absolutely.
at least.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And I think definitely in certain parts of the world, it's even newer, right? And I think when it comes to something like PropTech or innovation in general, communication and engagement is a key piece, because you can push out a new piece of technology or something new, but you have to educate people. You have to take them on a journey. If you are, adopting a new piece of technology within your company, you have to take people on the journey to make sure that they understand it, they know how to use it, they see the value. Same thing if you're trying to promote a product to other businesses. And so that communication piece becomes paramount, maybe more than in other niches of real estate that are more established, are more mainstream. And so people don't need to be taken on the journey as much. And so in niches like this, personal branding becomes an incredible tool because people buy from people, right? We know this. People buy into people. There will be way more credibility behind a brand, behind a product, if I believe and align with the person that is talking to me about it, with the face of that business. So especially in a sector like PropTech, personal branding offers huge opportunities in that respect because it's tightly linked with that communication piece. And you've touched on something around personal branding and company branding. Well, how does that work? I'm not saying for one second that we shouldn't have corporate comms, we shouldn't have a company page, we shouldn't have all of that, because that is equally important. However, what's become very apparent is that the brand needs to become more of a showcase. So if I go on the website, if I go on the LinkedIn company page, of course, everything needs to be completely aligned. The pages need to be active. I need to see what the products are, what the services are. But the way I'm going to be converted to a specific product or service is through the people and the individuals. So the nurturing, the lead generation, the relationship building, the client acquisition needs to happen through the personal brand. And then the page is almost there to corroborate that message. So if I come across your brand, for example, if I come across your LinkedIn profile and you're talking about a specific a PropTech element, of course, I will go to the company page to check it out. But what generated the interest was the individual.
I think I've been reading about it a bit, and it's being said, or it's been documented for a while now, that consumer behavior has changed over the past decade, and consumers tend to buy more from personalities rather than companies. So people, or maybe we can plot it on a graph that companies or CEOs or higher management that has a personal brand tend to do more in terms of growth in a slower market as well.
Yes, absolutely. There's a ton of data out there that shows this. One of the key reasons is that trust has also become a lot lower. So the graph probably does this, and then the trust does this. Many reasons. Consumers have become more savvy. there's more information available. There's a lot of AI, there's a lot of content out there that isn't authentic. And so our trust threshold has become much lower. So even more so, we are way more likely to trust an individual over a brand. The other interesting piece of information is that 82% of B2B buyers will vet an individual online before buying a company product or service. So there's also more research that's being done. And again, because people are more savvy. So there's an example that I love to use. It's a conversation that I actually had. So this was a conversation I had with a head of development based in the UK. And she was explaining to me that a project manager had been recommended to her, a project management company. They went online, looked at the kind of director profiles, couldn't find anything that gave them trust, that gave them proof that they could deliver what they said they could deliver, that would give them clarity around what their niche was, what their expertise was. Snap decision, they passed them on and went with somebody else. And this particular project had a value of £1.8 million. So that just shows, that's it. It just shows that there is a price tag attached to your personal brand. And if it's not curated, it doesn't mean that you're not active and therefore some people won't see you. They will still find you because we all have a digital footprint, but the opportunity that was on the table will suddenly go to somebody else. So now there is a cost to not managing the personal brand.
In marketing parlance, we call it social proof. There needs to be social proof of your work, your accountability, whatever you do, there needs to be a social proof. Coming back, you mentioned or you touched rather a very important point, the AI. Now with the advent of AI and how quickly the language models are learning, adapting across the board, is that a boon or a bane for personal branding in the perspective that everybody can use AI to do the personal branding work? Will the AI or should AI create a same line or same strategy for everyone? It might not work, but it has limited variables that it can put in the, let's say, personal branding mix. So how does AI, the advent of AI and the adoption of AI play in the personal branding?
Yeah, you've touched on it. The key word is general. So what am I trying to say? So AI is not going anywhere, and I don't think we should shy away from it at all, because it does offer a lot of opportunities, and it will only keep growing. That's what I think, right? I think AI at this moment in time is a great strategic partner. So AI can help streamline ideas, refine ideas. It can even, spit out a whole identikit of your ideal client, and this is what you should do, and this is how you should talk to them. However, it is still not able to completely replace my knowledge of my clients and the market. Those little nuggets of information, the conversations I've had, the fact that I speak to my clients every single day allows me to have a lot of nuance in how I understand my clients. Whereas AI, most models, if we just think of ChatGPT, right, it scrapes information from everywhere. So it will always be more general than the information that I can bring to the table. So what I'm trying to say is AI is a strategic partner. It can save us a ton of time. It can help us clarify ideas, condense data, but it still needs our input because the gold is in the nuance. The challenges that our clients face, our target audience faces, the gold of that is within us because we have that direct contact. So I still think that any piece of content needs to be vetted and refined and fine-tuned, and you can see very clearly when that hasn't been done. Or even if you can't see it, it just won't appeal to us. If I am the target audience and I come across a post online, I might just say, okay, interesting, but I will move on because I don't feel that that piece of content is talking to me specifically and it doesn't understand me deeply, making me go, gosh, I need to speak to this person because they've described exactly the challenge that I have with my business, with my project at the moment. So Will AI replace us? That's the big question, isn't it? I think we have a much better chance of not being replaced if we know how to use it and we know how to prompt it.
100%. Since we are towards the later stage of the conversation, my last question to you, Beatrix, is to our audience. How can they take those smaller steps today with respect to personal branding to have that big brand, a grand brand in the later stages, let's say 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line?
Yeah, absolutely. So how much time have we got? We could spend the whole day. But I do want to give people some tips for sure. So I use a framework with all of my clients. I use it myself, and it's called Be Clear, BCLEAR. These are all the things that you should think about when you're building your personal brand, or I would say the key elements to make your personal brand work. But just to give people the most important tips, key stages, the C, which stands for client. It is paramount to understand your target audience, not just understand who they are, but also what is the gap that they're trying to fill and what is the ideal solution for them. And this needs to be a very deep piece of work. It's also important to be very specific. This is where most brands fall flat, the specificity. Almost the niching. Most brands are worried about niching. They decide, okay, great, we're going to target, I don't know, residential developers. Great. What kind of residential developers? What project size do they work on? What's their portfolio size? What's the geographical area? How mature is their business? What stage are they in? And people worry that by doing that, they're going to leave, they're going to repel other groups of people. That doesn't actually happen, because I work with people in real estate, a very specific type of individual, but I do still get requests from others. All it does is it makes my message very specific, because I am seen as a specialist. So being specific and understanding who the audience is. And the other thing I would say is making sure that you are clear about the channels. Where is your personal brand going to show up? Typically, when we engage with a person, with a brand, it's never through one single touch point. It's very rare that we will see one post and we are sold, or we will listen to one podcast episode and we are sold. So you've got to pick that channel strategy very carefully. Typically, in a sector like property, real estate, LinkedIn is an obvious one, because you can be very targeted, and that's where we all hang out. But then you might decide, based on your target audience, that podcasts are a great way to reach them, but perhaps also speaking on certain stages at certain events. Is there any publication in the mix? You don't have to be everywhere. This is really important. There is no need to be everywhere. You just need to be in the right places. And typically it's 3 key channels maximum that you want to be focusing on. So this is my key advice. Understand what your goal is. Who are you trying to reach? And get very specific about who they are and how your service fills the gap. And then pick your channel and make sure that you are sharing that information, that transformation piece, the gap that you are filling, consistently throughout.
I think there are 3 great or generic keywords or takeaways from what you just said. It's personas, channel, and nurturing. I think that sums what you just mentioned to our audience about building a personal brand. Just one more question that just came to me is, Beatrix, how do you think events like Future PropTech Miami help the companies to reach a wider audience from the company perspective, and then the CEOs, the C-levels to have that say in an audience of, let's say, 4,000, 5,000 business attendees?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think events play a key role, right? Provided that you are picking the right ones for your business. I think in a sector like PropTech, which is still quite new and it's fermenting, right? There's lots happening all the time. The knowledge sharing piece is absolutely paramount. So making sure that you are in those rooms, listening to those conversations, taking part in those conversations, because it's a sector that's moving very, very quickly. So going to events like this is very important to keep your finger on the pulse. I would also say, from a personal branding perspective, if you are a senior leader, if you are a CEO, if you are MD, you're a leader, joining the conversations, speaking at these events, joining a panel in front of a big audience, provided that it's the right audience for you, can be incredibly powerful. Because if you are trying to build a personal brand around a specific element of PropTech and you want to be seen as a trusted voice, as an established voice, speaking, panels, stages are a very powerful way of doing that, because you are publicly seen as an expert partaking in those conversations, as well as also learning in the process, because you are sharing knowledge. Yeah.
So also so much that there are other leaders as well who are using the same stage. There's a potential for enormous networking in events. With that, thank you so much, Beatrix, for sparing time. It was a lovely conversation. We look forward to seeing you in Miami this May and having potentially more conversations with you about personal branding, about PropTech, about real estate.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Martin, and have a lovely day.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely day, you as well. Bye-bye.
Bye.